Something seems weird. Oh shit! That's it gone?
See, the thing is, the ironic thing is going to be everybody every week always wonders if anything's ever going to fall on you. You're going to be the one that causes it to fall on you accidentally one day.
It won't. It won't be caused by me. It'll be caused by something that'll cause it to fall.
Oh God.
After all,
Well, considering the fact I've been watching this random YouTube channel, these random YouTube channels lately talking about how to beat certain horror movies, and right now I'm following Final Destination. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Great timing.
Mm-hmm.
So, welcome, friends. Speaking of horror, we're episode 23 of Popcast Movie Club today. So, yeah, we've got lots to talk about, and Ashley's pick, probably the most, for the most part, I would say it's going to be the most general pick, the most like popular pick so far of a movie that pretty much everyone knows.
The most mainstream, I guess.
Extremely mainstream. That's the
Yeah.
word I was looking for. So yeah, I throw all the random, strange comedy movies that no one's ever heard of. AJ throws a mixture of everything. Chris is about the same way, but Ashley is throwing the most mainstream one tonight, and the third in the Die Hard installment of Die Hard with a Vengeance. Welcome to Popcast Movie Club. My name is Owen. Joining me, as always, we have the person that came up with this pick. That is Ashley.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out from the angle. The thing that will hit me first is Girls Trip. Shit.
Yes, it was. Anyway, and that's a shoot. Also, apparently, since the way this is laid out for me, and I guess it's for you guys, it's different because on one side you've got the brothers in beard, and then the other side you've got cleanshaven.com. So, but for me, it's reversed because the way I have it, it's in fours because of the fact that I'm using the iPhone to watch. So I have the brothers on top and me and Ashley on the bottom, but it's done differently on the opposite side when you at what you actually see.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we also have making his return to the network after a long time being away because of the fact that we've been doing awards coverage nonstop. Welcome back, Chris.
I am not afraid of something falling on me. Thank goodness back here.
Now, you seem pretty set in your ways at this point. I can somewhat see what's going on. I do see that your shelving is rather safe, to say the least.
It should
And and speaking of someone who also has shelving that's rather safe right now, that would be the last member of our panel, and that would be AJ.
Yeah.
I seriously think there's no way your stuff's falling over.
I wouldn't think so. They're nailed into the floor. I'm assuming
Yeah.
that helps.
Well,
If there's ever a day though where all those fall, it's going to be the loudest noise in your neighbor. It's going to be like when Kevin destroys Buzz's shelf times like 1,000.
God. It's like in the movies where the library has, like, they're moving the chair over in dead silence, and all of a sudden, all you hear is the chair moving over or the table moving over.
You're talking about the Men in Black table?
Yes, the Men in Black table with the marshmallow chairs. Yeah. So yeah, so episode 23, Popcast Movie Club. Die Hard with a Vengeance. So, interestingly enough, I think I can't say anything. I'm sure Chris is probably in this group as well. I am the only person on this panel who's never seen this movie. I have to believe
What
that
had
to be
you
true.
seen out? What have you seen out of the series? Just like the first and the more recent two?
No,
Wow.
I've seen this one, and I've seen the ones that went to theaters.
So 4 and 5.
Yes.
I haven't
But
seen
I
four.
went to see-
Series just ends here for me.
I know. I stand by 4. I like 4 quite a bit,
Right.
but it does feel like a different thing. But then again, this kind of feels like a different thing too. Wasn't this one of those things where it was a different script at the time and they changed it to a Die Hard one?
I looked into the Wikipedia. This had about 7 different scripts.
Oh wow.
And originally, actually, this was supposed to be a Brandon Lee film that never happened because of his death on the Crow set. Originally, it was supposed to be. Let me get the details about it. It was supposed to be like the working script was Simon Says. I wonder why that was an idea. And it was supposed to originally it was about a mad bomber that wanted revenge against a police detective who's forced by the bomber to find and stop his bombs from exploding. And the only help that he has is a shop owner who becomes involved by accident. But when you look at some of the other scripts, John Milius did one that was set in a jungle, which now got scrapped. One by Doug Richardson took place in the LA subways, but they were taken over by terrorists who were actually planning to rob the Federal Reserve of the city.
Oh well.
So although that got ditched apparently by Willis because he said it was a Die Hard ripoff. Although the irony is, of course, as it says, that bit, or at least the ending of the script, was the ending of Speed 1. Keanu and all that. There was also a John Fasano script that took place with McClane chasing kidnappers who took his teenage daughter, thinking that she was the daughter of a rich industrialist. Then there was like a cruise ship one that also got scrapped from the writer of the Point Break, the original Point Break and everything.
By cruise ship, you mean like Speed 2, Cruise Control?
Cruise Control.
And then also the other rewrite was pretty similar to a Steven Seagal project called Dreadnought, which became Under Siege.
Jeez.
And then eventually, I think it's pretty much been a case with, certainly with the first 3 films, is they were sort of all, well, I guess you can't really say it with Die Hard 1 because that was obviously the concept anyway. But both 2 and 3 were never supposed to be 2 and 3. There were projects for other generic things that somehow got tagged into becoming John McClane films.
Oh, you mean like Super Mario Brothers 2?
So Jonathan Hensley is the only one with a writing credit. So my question is, where did he come in?
Yeah, so basically,
Is that am I thinking correctly? That's the director of the Tom Jane Punisher, right?
Yes, it is.
I know some.
Wrote Jumanji, wrote the Saint, which I didn't I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was good either. The Val Kilmer reboot of the British TV series. He also did the direct-to-video Welcome to the Jungle, which isn't the Rundown.
So, was Nicolas Cage in that?
It was direct-to-video. No. Sandy Gardner, Khaled Harris. Also wrote and directed Kill the Irishman from about a decade ago, and then a couple of years back, that Liam Neeson Ice Road thing. The trucker stuff. Although apparently was also uncredited for The Rock, Con Air, Virus, Gone in 60 Seconds, and Gemini Man.
Those make a lot more sense.
So an interesting sort of mix of stuff. Yeah, apparently It was
I'm
supposed
just
to be
sitting
a
over here with you saying he did the Saint. I was like, the villain in the Punisher is Howard Saint. Like my mind was stuck
Oh my
on
god.
that.
It was supposed to be a sequel to Rapid Fire originally,
Oh.
but with Lee's death, it then sort of got adapted into what became Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah, Rapid Fire's the one with Powers Booth, right? I think I actually kind of dug that one.
Yeah.
So this is interesting that they tie together.
And then, of course, you
So-
had the interesting, I guess, studio interference for the ending bit as well. Because that wasn't the intended script. That wasn't the original script that he wrote.
Yeah, I figured. I have some things I wanted to say about the alternate ending when we get there.
Yeah, we'll jump into that. But I do like the fact that it sort of follows the trend of at least the first 3 films, where it just really abruptly just puts you in the action as soon as possible. You get like 60 seconds of Summer in the City, and then kaboom.
Oh, it's probably closer to 30 seconds.
It kicks right off, and see that's the thing. If you can captivate me right away, and you can like get me interested and invested immediately, you have a better chance of succeeding in getting to keep my attention throughout the movie. And this is a movie that, watching it for the first time, I really dug it. I'm not normally like extremely high on action, but if there's a point to it and you can get me invested in the characters and the story, and this one does it right away. Like, opening's great, like very much of the times. I do remember 1995, not very well, but I somewhat remember it. Before I go any further, I do want to get into the chat because we've got 2 of our regulars in the chat that are here to chime in to say a few words, and probably will say so more throughout the rest of the show. Spencer reads back, said it's a good day to die hard with a vengeance. Poor Bruce, such a terrible disease. Let's praise him in his glory. Yes, today I had chicken. Sadly, not Bruce Willis chicken, but I felt the attempt was made.
Completely unintended, but it's like, it's weird. Like Willis's this Detective Night trilogy or whatever the hell it is that he's done over the past like 4 months, I've heard relatively decent things about. It's sort of like in the 60s on Rotten Tomatoes. Admittedly, there's not many reviews, but like maybe he's actually got a script that's good. It isn't just the work that he's sort of doing to get the trust fund up for his family and everything.
Apparently, this was Demi's favorite movie of his.
That's a good choice to me. That's a fine choice.
Also bringing up the fact that, of course, the writer did Armageddon and Jumanji. Love that, says Spencer. So, random in the middle of the Bruce Willis love for the panel, because I can't answer this. Thoughts on Nomads and Medicine Man?
Are those? I think those are other McTiernan movies. I have not seen Nomads. The Medicine Man felt unique. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. The only thing I really remember it's Lorraine Bracco, I think, was in that with Connery. And I just remember mostly it was like them bickering, which seemed odd for. I honestly don't even remember what the hell the plot was, apart from something medicinal. I can't even remember if it was an action movie or not. I remember it not really feeling like one, maybe. I don't know.
It was sort of a more. I mean, Wikipedia said it was more an adventure because it's like a pharmaceutical company to try and get a researcher who supposedly found a cure for cancer and whatever. There's only 4 credited people on the cast list, and I guess it's technically it was rewritten by Tom Stoppard. Weird thing to do, but there you go.
So Brian said he watched the first 2 films. Die Hard is an action masterpiece. Die Hard 2, an underrated sequel, even though it feels like a remake. And Die Hard with a Vengeance is a fun movie. Highest grossing film of 1995, too.
Nice.
Something that I saw on the Wikipedia, like in Japan, it like had 5 weeks at #1 there, beating out Return of the Jedi. So I'm trying to work out why was Return of the Jedi out in Japan in '95.
Spencer says, I think Die Hard 2 is my favorite, but this is a close second. Brian mentions this is not intentional, but talking about this after the news we heard this past week, kind of sad where Bruce is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very much so. Trust me,
I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say 2 was their favorite.
Interesting.
Because I tried rewatching 2 recently.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why there's suddenly something in my throat right now. Of course, I'm finally gonna talk. I did rewatch 2 recently, but I just really don't think I'm into 2. Like, I always think the next time I watch it's gonna be the time where it's like, okay, yeah, it's not gonna be as great as 1 and 3, but it could at least be on par with 4. But no, I very much prefer 4 to 2. That's right.
The only reason 2 exists is for Die Hard trilogy on the PS1. Because Die Hard 1 in that game was like third person, sort of behind the camera, like Nakatomi Plaza, clear out the enemies. Die Hard with a Vengeance was just like driving cars around and taking out bombs and other vehicles. But the Die Hard 2 one was basically like Time Crisis. It was just like the light gun style sort of work through the airport, and it goes to the sort of the snowy chapel outside as well. It's sort of like that's the only reason 2 exists, so that the best bit of the Die Hard trilogy video game exists.
If I can commandeer for a second, I have 2 questions, one for my brother and one for Owen.
Okay.
I want my brother's thoughts on 2 because I don't know if we've ever really talked much about 2. It just never really comes up. And Owen, what I wanted to ask you was, I know there is a movie that you are very fond of. You could probably say it's one of your favorite movies.
Right.
So that leads me to the question of going into this for the first time, did you know that Irons was the villain?
I didn't.
No. How was that for you?
No clue whatsoever. It's because when I think of Die Hard, the first thing that pops in my mind is Alan Rickman, and I didn't know anything about. I kind of got the gist of him getting, ironically, Jeremy Irons off the top of the building, but even though it's the opposite way around, but still, I didn't know what 2 and 3 did. I didn't know if they were going to find a way for it to be like flashback or anything like that. I didn't know anything about the movie. I didn't know who was in it. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know anything whatsoever. When I heard the voice, I was like, wait a minute, this is Jeremy Irons. I'm like, why is Jeremy Irons? Oh, okay, that makes sense. He's Simon Gruber. Okay, sure. He's related to Hans Gruber. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
So you didn't know Jackson was in it either.
I didn't know anything about this movie at all. I still don't know anything about the Die Hard franchise except for the fact that it exists.
Yeah, apart from the Hans and Simon connection, this one's pretty standalone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, It seems like because Brian brings it up. It says the second film was not necessary to watch for vengeance because was only necessary because of the villain.
Mm-hmm.
McClane is the only recurring character in this movie, not counting the small voiceover of Holly.
Although I don't even know that was her.
Yeah.
Chris, do you want to give your thoughts on the second film? Following on with AJ's question to you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having technical difficulties
Okay.
on my end. Basically, you're just looking for how I feel about number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all right. Bill Sadler's great. I think that's why AJ's throat closed up because some force in the universe thought he was about to disparage the good name of Bill Sadler.
This man has no dick.
But no, I mean, it's fine. Like, if I go back and rewatch the first 3, it's the one I'm definitely looking the least forward to. But I still think there's aspects of it. I like the way the villain goes out with the plane catching fire. I think that's fun as hell.
Yeah, it's 2 is probably the most memorable for me. The most memorable drop of the Yippee-ki-yay line. It's got that going for it.
Yeah, because it was used in a very like James Bond zinger kind of way that time.
Yeah. It's always. Did you notice? I get the fifth. We'll just pretend the fifth one's not here. I love that the Yippee-ki-yay line is used in a different context in every movie. In the first one, it's just kind of said flippantly, and then it's brought back. In the second movie, it's right before he kills the villain. In 3, it's after he's killed the villain, and in the fourth, it's literally while he's in mid-act of killing the villain.
The story of Samuel L. being in this is fascinating in itself, because it was originally supposed to be Lawrence Fishburne, but
It's easy to see.
But
Fishburne, that makes again.
Fishburne
The forever
Fishburne wanted more money, and the producers were like, no. And they just so happened to be in Cannes at this time, watching a film called Pulp Fiction, where notoriously that was another one that Lawrence Fishburne turned down, and Samuel L. got the job. And apparently said producers were that enamored with Pulp Fiction that they went and offered Samuel L. the part for Die Hard. And it got into a legal wrangle. There was some sort of settlement. Apparently, like, Fishburne's agents or whatever was like, no, you need leading parts. You don't need supporting parts. Which is fascinating because 2 years later... Well, 2-3 years later, people only remember him for being the supporting part of the Matrix.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think this year, the same year as Die with a Vengeance, he had a lead role in that Ellen Barkin movie, Bad Company, that nobody remembers.
People remember Cornbread Earl and Me than that.
Yeah. Yeah, 20 years prior.
So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're about to say something.
No, it's like early on we get the first bit of I didn't know that was CGI. The sandwich board bit with the I hate N words thing. Actually said I hate everyone. Just because they didn't want anything to actually happen, just in case people saw it. And it was actually digitally changed.
No, so the one that we see on regular TV is the real one, then?
Pretty much, yeah. That's the
interesting.
irony. You know, the one bit of CGI that I didn't notice. Unlike the surfing truck scene. That's nearly up there with Die Another Day as the worst surfing scene I've ever seen. on
Oh
screen.
man, Die Another Day sets the bar so low on surfing scenes, though. It set it so low it's in the ground and you have to dig it up.
All right, go ahead, Owen.
So, I wonder. I don't think it's ever been mentioned, but I got that vibe from the payphone calls from Jeremy Irons in the movie. I'm wondering if there is any connection with Lee Winnell and the reason why some of the Jigsaw messages were the way they were kind of like a very hidden ode to Die Hard, because I get that vibe of that's the same delivery, it's the same type of things. He even says, I want to play a game.
So there's an alternate universe where Jeremy Irons plays John Kramer.
Oh, that'd be great.
Or there's an alternate universe where Jigsaw just says, "Give me your pies."
I'm just sitting over here thinking of somebody doing a spoof video where Leigh Whannell answers the phone and it's just Jeremy Irons on the other end in the middle of his St. Ives riddle.
Honestly, really, that's the vibe I was getting throughout the entire movie. I was like, how much did this take, obviously, to the Saw franchise with the way that Jigsaw delivers his messages? I know it's never been mentioned, but it just seems like it's kind of hidden in plain sight.
Damn, I really wish Simon Gruber had a puppet.
While we were on the topic of the phone and the rhymes, I don't know why this got me so much, but this was one of those cases we were talking about where it's like I didn't have to rewatch it for this video, I just did for the pleasure because I know it's well already. And for some reason, something made me laugh this time around that I'd never really even acknowledged before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when they first answer the payphone, and he just starts with rhymes. And McClane's response to that is just, nice. I don't know why that's so fun.
Nice, that rhymes.
Only imagine watching this in a theatrical experience. Spencer Reed confirmed something to you, AJ. He said, my taste is always off the wall and weird. Spencer,
Yeah.
I think
I was like, that registers. I just didn't want to be like offensive.
I'm trying to work out whether that means Spencer watched Who Killed Captain Alex then.
well, I
Because
will
that
say
should be up
Spencer,
there as a double bill with Pacific Heights, I should feel.
exactly. Reading my mind at this point, because Brian, I think you finally piqued Josie's interest, because that's what she was watching today was Pacific Heights. She's not here tonight, but I do know via the social media networks that she watched Pacific Heights today, so we'll be able to. You guys can have a nice little conversation ski tomorrow during the Pop the Question show.
Oh man, Josie, please ask about Pacific Heights. I'm ready.
I'm guaranteeing this is going to
At
happen.
this rate, I know what number one viewers' prediction is going to be for us to cover on May 1st. Or around then.
I'm almost going to take it off the table just because.
Yeah.
That Versus was barely a year ago.
Yeah, no. That's too recent. Recency. That's why I picked
Yes, but
it.
it's a movie. It's a movie so nice you must discuss it twice.
Oh my God. Spencer says, I remember AJ's review of the crappy Die Hard movie.
Yeah.
That was back when you were reading them after I wrote them.
Yeah. That was before AJ decided he wanted to come on camera for the first time, and then Iron Man 3 happened, and he hasn't looked back since.
And I've seen A Good Day to Die Hard since the theater, and that was a decade ago now, this year.
May 1st, everybody.
Just
10
partially
years.
as well why I
podcast
picked
work.
it.
Be
Yeah.
there.
Actually, did it come out? Did it come out in January? It might be over 10 years old now. It came out early. It came out in the first week of the year at least.
Yeah. Spencer does ask, who's your favorite actor in this movie after Bruce Willis? He throws Sam Jackson's name out.
I would say Irons like, well, I don't know if I want to say above Willis because McClane is like the draw, but Irons, yeah. I didn't realize little tiny Aldous Hodge is in this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so is Ludwig Borga, if you're a WWF fan from 1993. Under his shoot helm.
John Howman, I think it is. From
Doman.
Doan from The Wire. And
Doman, yeah.
Practically everything from the past 20 years on television.
So, a weird cameo that I got was Elvis Duran. And before I moved here, Elvis Duran in the morning was something I listened to like regularly. So it was weird to see him in the flesh for the first time. Like when the first time I saw Rick Dees and what he actually looked like, I'm like, that's what Elvis Duran looks like? All right, sure. And that was 20 years before I even knew who he was.
The weirdest cameo was Sam Phillips. You know, one of the only, if not the only, female figure, like predominantly in the film.
That's not even a cameo. That's a full-on part.
Yeah.
I made a couple mistakes here. When I saw certain people, I thought they were other people. I saw Sam Phillips. I swore it was Kate Blanchett.
That would have been awesome.
So Kate Blanchett got married to T-Bone Burnett?
He wishes?
While we're on the topic of her, actually, I would just like to point out, when I would watch this movie when I was younger, like much younger, Katya actually scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like the scene where she kills the dude with the knife, like genuinely terrified me when I was a kid. The way she creeped up.
Something had to stop her from like slashing them times. Like, he's dead. It's okay. You don't need to do the same. And she's like, no, I want to keep doing this. And I was like,
yeah, because she's doing it so smoothly and almost calculated, but it's so at the same time messy and vicious.
I'm trying to work out like the first time. Well, not the first time you see her, but like when she gets the sort of pneumatic drill out to sort of leave the mark for the big drill to go. They get the red light, you know, of the train station bit to highlight the scar that's like on her neck. I was like, why are they showing? Because that never gets brought up, like how she got it. The only backstory is that she was in a relationship with like some Israeli terrorists and they put a bomb in her bed, and she's probably dead. Like that was it.
I mean, I want to talk about somebody that I was not expecting to see in this movie, and that's Colleen Camp.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know her from like the 70s and 80s, and then she's up in like the mid 90s, and I'm like, all right, that's a thing.
It's crazy. This was only 10 years after Clue.
And Graham Greene.
Yeah.
Who, no matter what he does in life, he's always going to be the dude from Alaska and north to me.
Yeah, I mean, forget that he's an Oscar nominee for Dances with Wolves. It comes back to North.
Dude, North is so. I mean, it's not a good movie at all, but North has got so many great cameos in it. It's literally
one of those.
And Jason Alexander together. And then my good personal friend Reba McEntire and Dan Aykroyd together. And of course, the line about my crack will be in every airport. God, I actually really enjoy that movie a lot.
I have a question. It's a general question that anybody can chime in on, but I want to ask my brother specifically because one of the things we haven't mentioned yet is my brother has a lot of experience with this movie.
Okay.
Brother, if you just have to just just estimate times have you seen this?
3 or 4 times.
What's that?
300 or 400.
Yeah.
It's about where I put it.
Excuse me, a baking powder? You said 300 or 400?
Yes. When I was in college, freshman year, my college roommate would put this movie on loop for days at a time, just in the background while we were doing things and sleeping.
So what you're saying, to a joke that only 3 of us are going to get, it was the Anchorman or Talladega Nights of your college life.
Essentially, yeah.
Oh my God!
And another movie that's
that I probably put the first one at about 150 times, and I probably put Con Air at about 400 as well.
So pissed off with it.
Die Hard 2 only about 25 times.
It's the Two Towers of the group.
Kinda, yeah.
Good God.
Again.
So my question to you, because what was that?
I said once again, no offense to Bill Sadler.
So like I said, anybody can chime in, but I feel like you would have the best out. I even Googled it, and Googling it did not help.
Oh boy.
How does the water jug thing work?
I don't know. I mean, I know the explanation. I can't retain any of it.
I love the fact they do the explanation in it, which makes the least amount of fucking sense. From where it is, it's like there's 2 liters in here. I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna get 2 liters then?
I know, like at one point, I'm pretty sure they shoot down the idea because they're like, "Oh no, it has to be exactly 4," and then later they're like, "Let's just take 2 out of here," and I'm like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, that's what throws me off is Zeus says, no, we can't do that. It's got to be exact, and then they pretty much do what the original plan was.
Yes. So the way it goes, you take the 3, you pour it into the 5, you fill up another 3, you pour it into the 5 until it is full. You empty the 5. You have 1 liter left in the 3. You put it in the 5. You get a full 3 liter. Put it into the 5 and you get 4. That's how it should be done. In this script, went all over the shop.
Yeah, because regardless, estimations involved, right? Like that's.
Yeah, I'm gonna give the movie an out for this. I'm gonna grant the movie an out, and I'm gonna grant the out that Simon really didn't have the bomb rigged. He was just wanting to see if they would do it.
Yeah, but then the bomb was used to create, Surfing USA. So it must have been active. It wasn't pancake syrup.
The bomb after it leaves New York.
Perhaps the bomb was a last resort.
Say again, Owen?
Perhaps the bomb was the last resort. Like the plan was, let's just mess with them. But
I mean, the bomb in the school had pancake syrup. It could have also been pancake syrup in the briefcase. Maybe the little blonde girl went to Sam's and they just did it up, man.
Pancake syrup.
1995.
Pancake syrup blew a dam. That's amazing.
Or maybe they robbed a Denny's. I don't know.
1995. That's logical. Brian says.
I just wanted to call out something real quick. While we're on the topic of the pancake syrup being used, can we give a shout out to the character arc of Charlie? Because he's just the wacky comedy relief that comes in and says, "Hey, look at this cool shit," and he blows up a chair and all that. And then there's a genuinely profound moment when they're like, "No, there are kids left in the school." And he's like, "I'm not leaving." And it's like, holy shit, Charlie's a hero. And no attention is drawn to that because the pancake syrup bit is kind of a moment of slapstick almost.
And I think that's the last we see him.
Yeah, no flowers for Charlie.
His last line is, pancake syrup? While being just covered in whatever the hell it is.
Like
Here's what I want to know. After that happened, did he either A, want pancakes, or B, has he not touched a pancake since because of PTSD?
Hasn't touched a pancake since. You're getting
I'm
blasted in
real
the face.
questions.
Blasted in the face with pancake syrup. Would you want pancakes? No.
It depends how good the syrup is, if we're being honest.
I
For
feel
me,
like,
the biggest part would be washing it out of my beard.
I feel like I'm making the same argument as the people that get
Thank God
mad
Charlie's
at a
in
new
shape.
Hope. I feel like I'm making the same argument as the people that watch A New Hope and get pissed that Chewbacca didn't get a medal. It's like it's like I need just one quick scene of people saying, "Hey, Charlie, you know, good job," even though you weren't actually in danger. Good job.
Dude, I know how we could have got Charlie his flowers. I've got it.
He's like out of breath as he leaves, and he's like breathing heavy, and he just like Graham Greene just looks at him like, just nods at him, pats him on the back, and that's all he needs. Go about his merry way. I don't know when, but I will watch Live Free and Die Hard and A Good Day to Die Hard in the future just to complete the series, says Brian. Also mentioning making Katya silent makes her scarier. And he wanted a scene of a fight scene, actually, with John McClane.
Dude, they could have done that, and then the way we get Charlie his flowers is just like Al Powell in the first one. Charlie shoots Katia when she's trying to kill John McClane.
I'd have been down for that. I don't know that Charlie uses a gun, but
he's still covered in syrup when he shoots her, and he just changes it to pancake syrup.
Oh my God, that was Brian. I totally didn't skip out on that, but now you bring it up. Charlie's Kevin Chamberlain.
Go ahead.
Chamberlain is Bertram.
Does it go on?
Yeah, I knew he was from the Disney Channel, but I didn't know what
Yeah,
exactly.
he's Bertram from Jessie. The Debbie Ryan show that I used to watch all the time. Yeah, he's also in Seussical as Horton. He was nominated for a Tony for it, apparently, according to Brian.
Oh, well.
Who thought
Maybe
Connie
he was in flowers after all.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
did
that.
for opening night? Or right before closing. I thought Connie was Holly for a minute when I first saw her, says Brian. Yeah, I got everybody. I got all the chats taken care of. Perfect.
Part of me wonders whether Simon actually is better than Hans. At least in terms of like actual sort of plans and whatever. Because he seems certainly more meticulous in everything. Like with working everything out and obviously sort of being there. You know, the first hint being, of course, you know, why don't you just say you were getting rid of a fat chick off the phone?
That was great. These stunts, man, like good. Is the House of Black in your house right now, Ashley?
No, signaled that the tea's ready, so I'll grab it while you talk.
All right.
What I find interesting that Simon and Hans have in common is how it's much more obvious with Simon, I would say. The fact that he's basically playing a character for most of the movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like with Hans, like it was just, you know, they were basically posing as terrorists when they were actually robbers. And there was a whole thing where he was like talking about when he was negotiating and he was just saying random things that he'd heard about out of Time magazine. And Simon's like a whole performance I like
his American accent in the bank.
Yeah.
The only thing missing is a cowboy hat.
Yeah. Yeah, because even his casual racism towards Zeus is just like seems like it's just part of the character.
Yeah.
Man,
And
I didn't think about this till you mentioned it, but that means like whenever he stuttered on the payphone and McClane got a zinger in, it wasn't really a zinger because it was all made up.
yeah, and that's also doubly funny since Willis actually is like a stutterer in real life.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well with Gruber is like I sort of wonder whether he did you sort of get that little tease at the end, like that he did care for his brother. But at the same time, when when McClane just says, "Your brother was a fucking asshole," his face turns stern for 1 second, and then just like he was an asshole. Like,
I mean, to be fair, I could totally see that exchange going down after I passed with AJ and somebody else.
Maybe not so much now. Maybe back in the day.
Oh man.
I also find it. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying everybody's changed a lot in 10 years. Believe me.
I've never really put a lot of thought into how sincere is it revenge for Hans and how is it just almost like Simon seeing this as like kind of a scapegoat to his actual plan. That's another thing also where I guess that'd be kind of hard to say because it's when we're getting in that territory that we could explore that is where the script changes started happening. So there was I feel like there was probably different times where Simon felt different ways about it.
Could it be seen as one-upsmanship as well? Because wasn't Die Hard about 740 million in the vault? Something like that.
Sounds right or sounds close.
And then Simon has 140 billion. Like, I'm blowing out of what?
That could totally be something.
I do
His
also.
plan,
Go ahead.
his plan is to outdo his brother and also do what he couldn't do and take out John McClane.
Mm-hmm.
So you kill two birds with one stone.
I like the fact he sort of like he left it all in plain sight. You know, you get when we first meet John again, they talk about all the other sort of crimes, like the 3 stabbings, and then the 12 dump trucks randomly stolen from a yard. And then you get the Fort Knox, your Fort Knox comment. And obviously the intention that the bomb was going to go off anyway to lead them to the advantage of being able to sort of get in, and then them already being on the ground and ready to sort of Sarah to Bob Thompson.
To me it felt like, obviously this is reverse because it happened much later in life, but it felt very Batman. Like the whole setup just felt like it was a Batman plot.
Yeah.
Like the bomb, the breaking into the Federal Reserve, it just felt very Batman to me.
I wasn't sure which Batman you were talking about because Breaking into Federal Reserve seems more like Nolan's movie.
Yes.
But then there actually is a moment where Samuel Jackson is running around town with a bomb, trying to get rid of it.
It felt like something you would see in a Batman movie. But yeah, Nolan's franchise makes the most sense.
Nolan makes the most sense as well because you get like a heck of a lot of bait and switching.
The Dark Knight.
I would throw Matt Reeves in there.
Yeah.
The crew.
That's true.
The crew coming in as cleanup to basically just clean the money out and take it in the trucks by going through the viaduct system, taking advantage of all the trucks that are going in there, and then putting the cargo onto the boat, except the boat is basically just, disguised. The trucks went somewhere else.
Had like Italian Job vibes to it as well.
Which then leaves me intrigued by, and this is where AJ can come back in, the alternate ending.
I want to hear this because I don't know anything about this.
So,
Well, first off, I heard something really idiotic once, and I got to get this off my chest because I want to find whoever this person is and just punch them in the face. I can't remember where it was, but it was so idiotic. I'm going to assume it was probably Reddit. There apparently the ending as is controversial, whether people know the alternate ending or not. A lot of people think the ending feels very tacked on. And the comment that I saw that kind of set me off was the movie should have ended with him calling Holly in the phone booth after Simon got away, and that's just the ending. And all I can think is, what kind of fucking I mean, for another movie, maybe I can understand that, but for a Die Hard movie, who wants to walk away from a Die Hard movie with the villain just anticlimactically getting away? In what universe should the movie have stopped there? I don't buy that at all. Like I said, maybe if it was another kind of movie, maybe. But in this one, I would never ever accept that as an ending.
Would you accept it as an ending if it was something done in like the first movie? Like, let's say Die Hard with a Vengeance was the first
one. Oh. Yeah, so it's... I guess it would feel like...
Keep in mind, at this point in time, if it's the first one, you don't know that McClane always gets the bag.
Yeah, I guess the question would be, would it be definitive, oh, damn, he got away? Or would it be, like, set up as sequel bait? Like, if this was the first movie in the franchise and it ended there, would there be a sequel where he goes after Simon? And it goes from there? Or would it just go to another thing?
I mean, it'd probably end up being sequel bait. I mean, Harry Potter, Hunger Games, and Twilight made sequel bait out of less.
Accurate.
So, it's implied that the deleted ending is somewhere in Europe. This is like months afterwards.
Yeah, because there's a DVD extra where Hensley wrote the scene, and he does commentary for the scene and doesn't remember where they said it. He says, like, it could be this location or this location or this location. I don't remember. But it's somewhere where Simon is probably from.
And in comes Willis in his coat and everything, and a present. And, says, nice to see you. Nice to see you, Simon.
And Simon is alone and basically implies that he wiped out his whole crew at some point, and it's just him now.
including Katia. I'll slice you with a sickle. And he makes a call on his phone like, oh, you're alive. And then the phone goes off and Willis has got it. It's like, I can't remember if that came off the 2 guys that I killed or the 2 that I left unconscious and handcuffed up. And basically says that he got kicked off the force because everyone blames him for all that went down and Gruber getting away. And he leaves a little miniature Empire State Building where it's implied that all the gold was melted down into Empire State like figurines to like be sold at all the, you know, God knows how many shops, you know, the memorabilia shops, and that's how they got it out.
Yeah, how they did it in the Lavender Hill Mall with the Eiffel Tower statues.
Mm-hmm. And the bottle of pills still comes into effect because he realized that that's, you know, the ship was the bait and switch, and the trucks were actually, you know, driving to the Canadian border because it was quicker that way. So sort of what you do sort of get anyway with the true ending. And then Willis has got a gun and unveils that the present is a Chinese rocket launcher. But purposefully, all markings have been taken off said rocket launcher. So nobody knows which way it fires.
And to remember, well, God, I don't want to say this yet. I was gonna reference a movie, but it's a movie I'm gonna bring to Movie Club, and I'm gonna be talking about the climax. It reminds me of a scene in another movie, the way this scene plays out, that we're probably gonna talk about soon. So just disregard.
So John's like, okay, now it's time for McClane says. And he has his own sort of 2 or 3 riddles. One was, you know, he went 100 miles in one direction and 100 miles in another direction. It took him a week, but it all happened on Sunday. How was that? And it's like, well, that's the name of the horse, sort of thing. And he goes, oh, you know, he gets them all right. And then he was like, bonus round. A bad guy and a good guy are in a bar. Oh, by this time, McClane has told Gruber to tell everybody, like in German, I guess, to get out the bar and just leave them alone. So, like, yeah. There's a good guy and a bad guy. The bad guy brings a bottle of brandy, and the good guy brings a rocket launcher. What didn't the bad guy bring? And it's basically on this line of if he can't answer it, it's Russian roulette style. He has to fire the rocket launcher. Meanwhile, he's also turning it.
I was gonna say the suspense comes in that it keeps getting turned both ways.
Gruber keeps turning it and turning it. And Gruber's reply is, and then the key thing is he stutters as well, which is a nice little touch, like the antidote for the brandy. And it's like, oh, wrong fucking answer. You lose. Game over. Press the button. Press the button, Simon. And then Simon like turns it a final 180 and he's like, you sure? And Gruber's like, oh, I'm sure. Brunk. Fuck. Somehow this rocket is shit, and that it sort of just causes a minor explosion on the wall and doesn't blast the wall apart.
I was never sure how that worked, but it killed him essentially.
and then McClane gets up, moves his chest, and is like, he didn't bring a flak jacket. And I'm like, would a flak jacket have stopped the fucking rocket?
Yeah.
We sure, brother? And then he says, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, and walks out.
And it just literally fades to black, and that's where it would have ended. So here's my thing about that, is a lot of people say they would have preferred that ending. And Hensley says he's still happy with the ending. He recorded the commentary like in 2001, but at the time he said that. But the thing is the reason he said that they didn't go with it was they thought that it made McClane too ruthless.
Yep.
I don't even know that it's that so much as it just doesn't feel like a McClane scene. Like it feels like once again we're talking about how this didn't start off as a Die Hard movie, that scene doesn't feel like it fits in this movie. I actually much prefer the ending that we have, as abrupt as it seems.
Then again, we do find out that Zeus's kid made honor roll.
Yeah.
Which Simon actually feels really pleased to hear. Like, oh, it's good. This guy that he literally shot in the foot, he's now happy that the guy's son has got honor roll at college.
Yeah, there's definitely it's a very good scene in a different movie.
Yeah.
And with more explanation as to how a rocket launcher works the way that it does in the scene. Where it's essentially a gun in the scene. They could have literally just made it like something else, but I do get the idea of it. The sights being off and then not knowing which way it's going to fire is a nice touch, but I said it really doesn't feel like a McClane moment. I don't really think it has anything even to do with the ruthlessness of it.
If anything, the Chinese rocket launcher seemed like fucking Stromberg's bolt that explodes in the chair, and this is The Spy Who Loved Me.
And and when you were making your Batman analogy, you didn't even mention the riddles, did you?
I thought that was too obvious to bring up. So many Batman references, so many Saw references.
Brother, had you seen the alternate ending before?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I think it's a good scene in another movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure why people are, apart from, like I said, it might feel a little abrupt. I'm not sure why so many people are so anti the ending we have. I like the ending we have. I do.
Because that's a popular thing to do now.
I guess.
I'm trying to work out how Zeus realized that it was the woman shooting the gun at them in the face. Like, oh, she's pissed. How did he know they were fucking?
Yeah,
Was he watching through the window? Like, they fucking.
If I remember correctly, he's also not even wearing his glasses. Just to make it more absurd.
I think the glasses went, I guess, in the water. When they jumped off the ship. I think you can tell that that's probably where the edit was going to be, because it was implied that, like, Gruber thought that they'd both died on the ship and hadn't got off. So that bit where you sort of see them sort of fall in the water, where they clearly could have been hit by shrapnel because they seemingly got blasted off the ship. They didn't jump off sort of midway. Whether that would have left it as sort of like the mystery as to what happened, I don't know. But the one guy I also want to give credit is, Jerry.
Yeah.
Truck driver / tour guide.
There's so many like small heroes in this.
Yeah, the guy that works at the bank with the glasses was like, "Oh my god, there's been an explosion. Get the popcorn. Watch it." I was like, "Why did?" And then the sort of callback, sort of like when they hear the sort of the bombs and the score on the radio, and it's like, "Yeah, can somebody get my wife on the phone, please?"
And there was something else I just kind of wanted to bring up generally, that I'm interested in getting both points of view that we have from everybody that knows the franchise and Owen knowing, because Owen, the three that you've seen, McClane pretty much has a partner of sorts. Like Zeus was like the first time in the series that he had like a partner essentially, and then in the fourth movie it's Justin Long, in the fifth movie I guess it's Jai Courtney or some shit.
Yeah.
In the first two movies, he's almost working completely alone. Like in the first movie, he's got Reginald Vell Johnson like on a walkie-talkie, but from the outside. In the building, it's just him by himself. So what's interesting about that is, I'm curious how you imagine the first two movies where it's just him working alone, And as far as people that do know the franchise, on paper, going from 1 to 2 to 3, Zeus almost seems like he would be a bad idea. Because imagine you've seen 1 and 2 and you love them, and you're like, okay, now in this one, McClane gets essentially a partner. At first you'd probably say, no, McClane works alone. That's the thing. This is bullshit.
More Batman.
Yeah. But it works. I imagine Samuel L. Jackson himself is a huge reason why it works so well. Because Samuel L. Jackson can have chemistry with anybody, especially Bruce Willis. See, I guess I'm curious how people feel about McClane teaming up from both perspectives, since it was new starting at this movie, basically.
Do you want to lead off first, Owen, because of your?
Yeah, that's fine. I have always heard of John McClane as more of a loner. So when he did get his, when Batman got his Robin in this movie, I was a little bit confused because I was always under the impression that John McClane works alone. And that's the vibe I'd always got. Because barring what I've actually seen movie-wise, I've always seen him with a partner of sorts. But I also know of the legend of John McClane in the original movies that I've now watched one of. And I always thought of him more as someone that does everything on his own rules by himself. He has a little help here and there, but basically it's a John McClane show. I like the setup of everything. Basically with the Simon Says leading to him going to Harlem with a racial slur on a sandwich board and him basically just being there. And I mean, all they had to do was like turn around and done the party. It would have been over right then and there. Like if this movie did not take place in 1995, honestly, like now, if that would have happened, like things like that, or even maybe before that, yeah, he would have got taken and be dealt with 100%.
It's. I love how logical it is how Zeus is put into the movie and teams up with him, because when he says, like, why did you save me? And his response is, if a bunch of black dudes kill a white cop in Harlem, there's gonna be 1,000 cops here tomorrow with itchy trigger fingers. And it's like it makes perfect sense why Zeus would step in.
And if anything, he's pulling a purge. He also wants to save his store.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. The purge comes to mind as well.
I love that you're basically seeing Die Hard in reverse order, which only makes me think the first movie is going to blow your mind when you see it. It's got so much to live up to at this point.
Well, it's funny because there's a lot of movies I've only seen the sequels to that I've not seen the originals of, and stuff like The Matrix and The Terminator, things like that everybody like swears by, and I've only seen the newer ones. I haven't been introduced to the character like most people were. Like John McClane.
Brother, with that? What was that?
John McClane I was introduced to because of his aura in pop culture and the being able to finally hear. Obviously, I heard it back in the newer movies. I didn't realize it was something that was a trademark, the Yippee-ki-yay line, and of course that made for television like edit of Mr. Falcon, which I always thought was a really funny thing back in the day. And now being able to actually hear it in a true old school Die Hard movie, it just felt right.
It'd be cool if you could see the first one in a theater the first time you see it. I was trying to remember. I'm guessing that was the 2018 anniversary when we saw it in the theater a little while back.
I think so.
And it was so packed we had to sit towards the front, and you know how that goes with me. But
yeah,
it was still a great time.
So we can shoot for 2028 potentially as another Fathom event for Die Hard for another anniversary.
I mean, it would be on a 5 this year.
Oh, that's true.
They could throw one out there if you look around potentially.
I mean, with Bruce Willis's diagnosis, it might not be the worst thing in the world to re-release a Fathom event, get him some more money.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already set their Fathom events for the year, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's not a theater around here that might play something.
Yeah, they always add random ones, it seems.
And because they're not technically traditional Fathom events, they're just like, oh, by the way, MC is going to play this tonight.
I think over here, like, it might have been the original might have been a 35th anniversary, because I remember there was only maybe 10 people in the screen, but it was a double bill, and then afterwards I saw the alternative cut of Anchorman 2, I think it was, of which I was the only person in there. But that was the first time that I saw it on the original on the big screen. I wouldn't mind seeing sort of this on the big screen as well. I think there's a lot of sort of interesting bits. The only bit I wouldn't want to see is the surfing in the tunnel. Because in essence that was the first, considering how much you get in 4 and 5 with it, that was the first predominant car chase in Die Hard, right? If you take out sort of like the police car stuff with Winslow, and then the sort of crash with the limo as well in the first one.
Yeah, but both of those are just glorified crashes. So
yeah.
So, brother, what are your Zeus thoughts?
This is related to what?
As far as McClane having a partner for the first time, like a real one that's in the action with him.
I think Zeus is fine, but I don't think it's something that need to be repeated. I think it could have just been like a fun, like scenario kind of movie. Like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if this would happen? I don't think it needed to be a continuing trend.
Yeah, because the great thing about Samuel L. Jackson and Zeus is that he can be believably in the action while also believably an outsider that's, because of their outsider nature to this world of like the action, is great comedy relief.
I do like the touch.
And I feel like where we had so much time before the next Die Hard movie was out, I kind of felt like 3 was meant to be the end.
Yeah, it was what, 12 years? 95 to 2007?
Mm-hmm.
I do like the touch that Zeus feels sort of just like a random getting involved, but then sort of purposefully becomes part of the game, with Gruber purposefully choosing the school that Zeus's kids were at as the target of the bomb, the pancake syrup bomb. I feel that's a nice touch. The one thing I also want to add as well is the release strategy over here, because over here it was nothing to do with Fox or Cinerati. It was Hollywood Pictures, aka Disney.
Yeah.
So Die Hard with a Vengeance did it first, before they bought the rest of the Fox catalog. In fact, that was part of the issue. People wanted the Die Hard trilogy, but nobody could fucking release it because this Cincinnati or whatever sold off sort of most rights outside of like America to Disney, so you couldn't have Fox Disney on like a box set. It's only when the studio, basically the production company, I think went under, and they sold all agreements and assets over to Fox, and that's why, if I can grab it out of there, that's why this came out in what, like, 03, 04, I think, as a box set. The full-on
Well,
collector's edition as well, with movie and extras for all three films.
I was gonna save this for final thoughts, but if we're showing off our box sets, uh, this feels dirty for some reason. I've had this one forever, which is the one I imagine a lot of people are familiar with. And here's the thing: is I don't have the Die Hard trilogy on Blu-ray. I have the fourth movie on Blu-ray, but even if I got the Die Hard trilogy on Blu-ray, I feel like I would still watch these DVDs because just this box set alone and these cases give me so much nostalgia when I watch these. It's insane. Just the cases in the box are like part of the experience to me. And I never want to lose that with these movies. So, like I said, even if I get them on Blu-ray, they're probably going to be useless to me until these just die one day.
That's actually pretty funny. No, not that. I just noticed. So, this is the sort of little leaflet that comes with it, and it goes through all three films, except somebody stapled it in wrong. So there's page 2, I guess, if you want to call it. There's page 4. There's 5 and 6. Because why would you have Die Hard with a Vengeance with Alan Rickman and stuff from Die Hard 1? And then it goes to Die Hard 2, but then you've got Jeremy Irons for Die Hard 3. So, like...
Oh, God.
They put it in 180 degrees. Does that make it worth more money that somebody was incompetent in the stapling department? It was just... I forgot about that. But no, like, you know, it was always a big sort of... Apparently the only time it appeared unedited was like a 2008 broadcast on the BBC, and then it went sort of when Fox got the rights, the standard international release, I guess you could call it, became the sort of default. So everybody got to hear the swears. There was no sort of editing out. Apparently there was something that I saw that says there was like so much edited out of like the original UK version that they didn't even release it because the censors were just like, well, now it just doesn't make sense as a film. So but yeah, you know, it did its success. You know, on a 90 million budget, it made sort of like about 360, 370 ish. And I kind of wish it ended there. Although, you know, as AJ said, you know, 4 was okay. 5 is literally like the one we should forget. The sad thing is it's the most recent, so it also probably shows you how good it is. It's the one that keeps showing up every like 2 weeks on one of the digital channels. Probably because it's cheap to put on.
I mean, we can always count the Die Hard battery commercial where they brought Theo back for him to have one more confrontation with. I don't know if anybody saw that.
The Energizer Bunny.
where he blows up Theo at the end of that commercial. My first thought was, is this canon? Is Theo dead now?
So I was sitting over here having a thought, and I know we've gotten asked this question a couple times in the Q&A of what movie we would make into a theme park ride or theme park attraction. And I have two ideas for Die Hard, if you'll indulge me.
Mm-hmm.
For Die Hard with a Vengeance, they should do a tour in New York that's the Die Hard with a Vengeance tour, where you literally run to the places in town and you even get to ride a taxi bumping around Central Park. That's experience one. Experience two,
Does it
Disney
include
should
the
take
guy
a-
on the boat? Does it include the guy on the boat getting cut in half by the cable? I
Yeah,
forgot
it could
that
be a
that
stunt-
scene showed
stunt
up in the thing.
But my second idea, and Disney should do this, especially since they own Fox now, build a Nakatomi building replica on Disney property in a lot, park a bunch of police cars outside it and everything else, and run a stunt show type thing where when you report to that building at certain times of the day, there will be helicopters that fly in and there's explosion effects on the top of the building to look like a stunt show.
And do you have a Stunt McLean bungee jumping off with the fire
Yeah.
hose?
Yes, you could have a stuntman bungee jump off of it. And then somebody could throw a Hans Gruber dummy out the window. You could sell dummies in the lobby of Nakatomi Plaza for $20. You could take up a Hans Gruber dummy and throw them off. You could
No.
take your phone and you could recreate the fall scene and edit your own videos with it and everything. And yes, all of the dummies look like Hans, hair and mustache or goatee included.
To fit the time of day, though, I feel the dummy has to automatically also go off by itself at the same time that all the fireworks displays go off on the rest of the parks. It's like, no, oh, fireworks, no.
But would anybody check out a Nakatomi building stunt show like that? Would anybody come and check that out?
Oh yeah.
That says a lot from you because you would have to look up the building to see the
Huh?
explosions.
Yeah, it would. I mean, it would depend on the angle, but you know.
Part of me feels
So you might
like
watch
you
it from
could.
you might watch it from a distance.
Part of me would like to see sort of a combination of the two, in that you're sort of in a Nakatomi style plaza floor, but it actually becomes an escape room with Simon giving you riddles, and you have to get out, you know, before the, you know, just like in the NES game, the bomb's going off on the roof, and you've only got 1 hour before you got to get out. Otherwise, kaboom.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the Robert Davi helicopter explosion would work because I don't know if people would accept a theme park experience that was aircraft crashing into a tall building anymore, but
Damn
it seems.
Because I was going to say
I guess
you would
I guess
have
it didn't really.
helicopter. The helicopter could be controlled by drones.
Yeah, and I guess the Dolby helicopter didn't really crash into the building. Did it? Kind of it exploded beside it, kind of.
Yeah, it got engulfed by the explosion because it was hovering above.
Yeah, that's when they blew the roof, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then what you could do is when you go into this building to buy your tickets for the stunt show, the lobby is made up like the floor where the Christmas party is, and then you could have some floors, and then in between you could leave like the top 10 floors like unoccupied and like have them like almost soundproofing, and literally on the floors between that and like starting at the 5th floor could be like corporate office. Then you could use that building for fun and for business and pleasure.
And there has to be an actor playing Ellis that comes by and annoys you occasionally.
Only if he could do the Hart Bachner laugh.
Part of me feels like to not have somebody like playing Takagi and whatever, but have a Bill Clay. And it's like, oh, well, you're not going to be around soon. Hans is taking your name.
They could make it interactive. They could do the Bill Clay scene, and then when Bill Clay comes out, everyone boos and says that it's not Bill Clay.
becomes
When you see the
fucking-
first movie, Owen, this will all make sense.
We could take the moment of Jaws popping out of the water to the moment where somebody's like, "I'm going to propose when Hans Gruber's falling from Nakatomi building." Oh man, spoilers! I'm sorry, Owen.
We saw a clip of it in this movie.
Yeah.
They kind of told us that. How many times do they mention Hans taking the fall in this movie? They mentioned it at least 5 times in dialogue. But that won't ruin your first Die Hard experience at all. It won't. There's so much to look forward to.
Owen, I expect you to take my Nakatomi building plans to the appropriate source.
The only thing I will say about Die Hard 1 for you, Owen, is there's a fuck ton of people that were in Timothy Dalton Bond films in that one film.
Not to mention Vigo the Carpathian.
Yeah.
You've got the one guy that's what was the name of the villain in Living Day? No, what was the name of the henchman in Living Daylights?
Oh man, I can't remember. Asking me something to remember about.
He's the one that also shows up in Mission Impossible 1 as well. And then of course the two FBI agents is the villain and the CIA guy from License to Kill.
While we're on the topic of that, I do just want to bring up, I guess something we haven't really mentioned about this one yet is how well done the action is. Like there's one shot in particular I've always really loved. I think Ashley recently mentioned the scene where they drive the taxi through the park. I love the moment where we're kind of focusing on the taxi and the camera starts to look for where the cops are in real time. And I love that we actually have that almost the satisfying moment where the camera finds them. And at the same time the camera finds them, the cops say, "Found him," talking about McClane. And I love the way that was done. I don't even know how intentional that was. But I love the way the action is and how we were talking about the pacing before. Yeah, thinking about how we talked about this at the beginning, but I mean, really talk about how incredible the opening is. We get a 30-second introduction that's just exterior shots of the city. Then a big explosion happens. Then the cops are panicking. Simon's introduced over the phone. And within the span of like 3 minutes, we've introduced McClane. And McClane, when we first see him, has already been briefed, and he's already in the middle of his first task. In like the first 3 minutes. And it's like the pacing for this entire movie is on another level. And I love that so much. And the whole idea of it being at least these first 3, most of the Die Hard movies are only set during one day, right? We know the first movie is all just within that one night. I think 2 is all in one day also, isn't it? And mostly that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that plane can only be up for so long because of the fuel.
Yeah. And I think 4 is over 2 days.
See, that's where they went wrong. Where it all started going downhill.
Yeah, because it's over like there's Mary Elizabeth Winstead's introduction, which is at night. Then there's the main day of the movie, and then the climax of 4 is the next day. So it's like 3 days. And I don't remember anything about 5. So
2 days too many.
Yeah. But I love the whole one day idea that Die Hard typically falls in its best moments.
I would love to have seen Die Hard do something like Phone Booth, where we got a Die Hard movie that took place in real time.
Yeah, but what, like 24?
Yeah.
Oh man, that would have been amazing.
Right.
And it's because you think about it, you also, when you see the movie enough times, you kind of take that for granted. Like, when I was rewatching it again for like the millionth time, I was really thinking, like, even though I know what happens now, and like I'm very familiar with what happens now, I sometimes forget. Like the suspense for the subway scene is really incredible. Like the way it really, really raises the stakes of showing like the whole idea of setting up the "I didn't say Simon Says" scene where the bomb doesn't go off that first time because there isn't one. It sets up okay, there's definitely going to be one that goes off now, and then it's the race of the clock to get that, and it's like really establishing that well is something that I love that this does. I think that's the end of the stuff I have written down.
So Die Hard with a Vengeance then is yet another entry into the outstanding scenes on a train and or subway group.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the only bit I don't get with the subway incident bit is how the train just flips up by itself with no explanation as to why it tips on its side when it gets to the steps.
I don't ask about that the same way I don't ask about the invisible incline in Speed when they jump over the gap. It's like I'll just go with it.
Yeah, if it's a fun enough adventure and it's done well enough, I can very easily suspend my disbelief.
So a few messages in chat from Brian real quick. Probably when the credits are rolling and listening to the song that's not Let It Snow. I wonder if Holly had enough and they would officially divorce 2 years later in 1997.
They're really not meant to be together, right?
I don't think so. Brian also reiterates what Ashley said about the death on the ship with the guy getting sliced in half. Watching this movie before, Brian thought McClane was a heel at first glance.
Interesting.
Top 10 highest grossing films. Obviously, we had Die Hard's #1, and then in order, it looks like it's Toy Story, Apollo 13, GoldenEye, Pocahontas, Batman Forever, 7, Casper, Waterworld, and Jumanji.
So the
I just had a thought. I was sitting here trying to make sure it wasn't inappropriate before I said it, and I don't think it is. It's actually beautiful. There is a book from way back in the day, like 2001, of it's a book of movie lists by Richard Roeper, and there is an actual list in it of multiple movies where Bruce Willis is on again, off again with his ex, and they reconcile during the action of the movie. There's like a whole list of them. And the thing I was just thinking about was how kind of beautiful it is that Bruce Willis had so many movies where he gets along with his ex-wife long enough for an event. And you'll notice the person that really seems to be at the front of this support system for him, it's Demi Moore that we keep hearing from, getting all the news updates from. And how like life's kind of imitating art, where his ex-wife is the one that's this real power source in this big event in his actual life.
It's true.
Also, the fact that from that list, Jonathan had 2 scripts in the top 10 movies of the year, with Jumanji along with Die Hard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's more funny. Brian mentioned that Ashley's camera is reversed on this stream when looking at that booklet.
Oh, wait, is it? I don't know. Hang on. I've got to get something else to try and... Oh, shit, it's not even... I've got to hold something up. Okay, let's grab that. Oh, yeah, it is. Shit. It probably isn't to everyone else, but... For the broadcast, it is.
It's reversed.
Yeah, you got, I don't know how this works. You guys look normal to me, but I look mirrored to myself.
Yeah.
Is that like the way it is?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
I think that might be the show then.
So yeah, final thoughts. I sort of want to get your... Well, I'll finish off because it's my pick. But I want to
Yeah.
sort of, out of the three of you, I want Owen to go last because
Sure.
first time and everything. So and considering how we're going on numbers, considering it's 400 and something for you, Chris.
I love the movie. I've always loved the movie. I do not regret any of the 475 times it's been watched, and I will probably continue to watch it because I still will sometimes be sitting around and think, man, you know what this moment needs? Die Hard with a Vengeance. And I'm always correct.
And the thing about it too is that you would always quote it, especially in that era. So whenever stuff comes up, like when he imitates the stutter and he says, "My chair with me in it," or when he says, "Attention, attention, Nils is dead." I only ever hear those lines in your voice now, even more than Will.
Great.
And
AJ.
you use this as non-compliance a lot too.
Dude, what's so funny is my job that I'm getting ready to have, my new job, is literally in the compliance department. I can make that a part of my regular work talk. How great is that? I'm afraid this is non-compliant. Oh man, I'm so glad you brought that to my attention.
Go ahead, AJ. Your final thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like I pretty much gave mine. It's yeah, the fact that the way it works as a standalone movie, I feel like says a lot about it also as far as its quality. It's and which is funny about that because of how closely tied the motivation is. Where the title itself is referring to a previous movie. And yet it really works standalone because they put you up to speed so smoothly. Like even that whole scene where they're giving you all the backstory, it still sets up Simon as this cool character because it's like it sets up that whole thing where he knows everybody that's in the van that's giving McClane this whole update. And yeah, the way it ties that in and how it's like a whole bunch of scripts all thrown together, how they managed to get one product out of it that's this good, I feel like really stands out. And the fact that I wouldn't put it on the level of the first movie, but the fact that it comes so close to the quality of the first, as close as it does to the quality of the first movie, is really impressive. Because the first movie is like a Mount Rushmore action movie. Easily.
AJ, I don't know about you, but I know for me, even, and I don't know if it's because I've seen it so many times or I just enjoy it that much. For me, this is a comfort movie.
Yeah, I think that even more so about the first movie. The first movie was always my snow day movie when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Technically, there is a Christmas reference because Charlie does say partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, and the kid said, "That's another line you would always use, brother." When the kid says, "It's Christmas, you could steal City Hall," you would always say that too.
The most Brooklyn kid ever. Ever. I wonder to this day if that kid, if that guy is known for that. Like if people see him and they're like, "Oh, it's the City Hall kid."
There's a kid that sort of looks like him that's been in stuff recently.
He should have been the kid in Kazam. He could have had such a bigger career.
Nobody was gonna get a big career out of Kazam.
You never know. Bigger stars have started elsewhere. I'm looking at George Clooney in Return to Horror High.
And Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yeah. If it's Returning, he's there, except Batman Return.
I've just realized the Christmas kid looks like Blue Steel's kid in Zoolander 2.
Oh my god,
that actor. I can't remember.
I'd have to really struggle to remember Zoolander 2.
It's that kid. I'd have to find the actor's name. Either way, Owen, your first time final thoughts.
I procrastinate like crazy doing movie club because I usually wait till like the last minute, and I literally did wait till the last minute. This was the only chance I could watch it. I watched it before BAFTA, and before I took my long walk and tried to run a mile, because I got to start from scratch again. Thanks, Death Cough. Needless to say, it got me from the second it started to the moment it was over. I wasn't tapping the watch. I wasn't like paying attention to anything else. I mean, obviously, I had to take care of business at one point, but other than that, I was pretty captivated by the movie. Even when I was doing something else, I was still paying full attention. If that makes any sense at all. The acting's great, action's great, the cast is great. I mean, I understand why people see so much in John McClane as a character now, because now it's kind of like the aura of John McClane. I've actually seen a true Die Hard movie now. Like, obviously, 4 and 5 are what they are, but I mean, I feel like this feels like more of what I believe and what I've always heard of as to be a real Die Hard movie.
And
And
the word Simon, someone.
I liked it a lot. Jeremy Irons is great in it. Bruce Willis, I mean, he's super badass, and I love it. He's great. And I love Jeremy Irons as wearing his Gary Oldman glasses as being a very consummate heel, and he plays it to a T because he's good at that. Obviously,
There-
his career.
There's definitely an alternate universe where Gary Oldman played this part.
I like these alternate universe things that I have now created into existence.
Does that mean somewhere Jeremy Irons is shouting everyone?
I was going to say it's somewhere Jeremy Irons is terrorizing President Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And I'd watch the hell out of that, too. I'm not going to lie.
I think everybody would. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. There really hasn't been much on Movie Club that I haven't at least liked. I don't love everything, but I like things. I really dug this. This was fun. It's action, and it's not really my genre, but if you get me right away, you can keep me, and it kept me. And I didn't want it to end. And the 2 hours plus just flew right by.
Yeah.
And pacing's impeccable. Like the scene finally get me hear Yippee Ki in the right. That was good. Enjoyed that. I love how it feels like you were saying, I kind of like I'm watching things backwards. It's like watching the new Star Wars movies and then watching the originals, which is technically true, but it's not the way nature intended, even though it is, but it's not. So starting with 3 and then going backwards is weird because now I've seen 3, 4, and 5, and I'm hearing 2 is kind of not necessarily skippable per se, but it's not necessarily something that I feel like I need to jump to immediately. But the original one I definitely want to check out at some point. But usually I only get the idea to watch these movies if they are thrown at me at Movie Club. So
Two's got NYPD Blue guy as
Dennis
the car.
Dennis Franz? He's the only person that comes up to my mind when I think NYPD Blue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Dennis Franz. You're right.
Yay! So basically what you're saying are the cops are ABC approved.
Hey, do you know who besides William Sadler, do you know who the villain in Die Hard 2 is? Have you heard this?
Well, the Rickman thing I knew about, and obviously I don't think there's another Gruber, so no, I don't know who the heel of the movie is.
The villain in Die Hard 2 is Franco Nero, the original Django.
Oh, wow.
The one that's in the Mandingo fight scene in Django Unchained
Yeah.
that says "I know." He's the villain in Die Hard too.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well,
Maybe.
he's in essence villain wise he's sort of Philip Seymour Hoffman in MI3. The action villain is I can't remember the actor's name.
That's another thing. That's another.
Franco's sort of on the plane.
That's another franchise I have yet to explore fully.
Oh, the OG Django's.
I think you.
No,
I think
Mission
you.
Impossible.
Oh right.
I think you've hit the ones that are worthwhile.
I haven't seen the original.
Oh, is that the only one you've missed?
That would be correct.
No. So you've seen two then.
And I used to watch the TV series back in the day too.
Which is pivotal for MI1, if we call it that now.
God bless it. All in all, my final thoughts are it was definitely worth watching. I enjoyed it, and I'll chalk it up to another win for Movie Club for something that, if it was an option to watch and I had nothing else better to do, which is difficult because I'm extremely bad when it comes to procrastinating and watching movies, I'd watch it again. I'd watch most of these movies again, to be fair. I'm very excited about what's coming up in 4 weeks because it's something I've been wanting to see for a long time, and now I have a reason to watch it. We'll get to that in a minute.
I was gonna say that's a good transition. That's a good transition to the fact that we're not done with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh God, no, we're not done with Sam Jackson, but we're gonna backtrack and go a year later. We're gonna go to 1996, and we're gonna see Sam Jackson as basically Don King, and I'm very excited to be able to bring my pick of The Great White Hype to Popcast Movie Club episode 24 in 2 weeks.
The one thing I'll mention as well, sort of my final thoughts, because as you can probably tell, I enjoyed it because I selected it.
Obviously,
It leaves me intrigued as to what else we could have got from McTiernan. Because within 7 or 8 years of this, he did Basic, and we haven't had anything from him since. I think, not even in TV front. I know that's because of his legal and
So he had
everything
he had
else
that little
issues.
He had that little prison stint for about 14 months or whatever it was.
But I'm surprised, he sort of hasn't had a chance to sort of get a resurgence, whereas other people with other discredited careers like Gibson and God knows how many others have had a chance to sort of come back into the fray. I still think there's at least a couple of action movies in McTiernan just as director. If Campbell can do sort of like 2 Bond films, 11 years apart, and still hit with both of them. Okay, it's a bit of a different time gap, and I'd say probably the last good McTiernan was his Thomas Crown Affair version. So we're coming on 25 years. So maybe 1 film. I won't push it to 2.
I wouldn't mind seeing McTiernan tackle Predator again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pleased that it got in.
on that note, that's the show.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we'll do the programming notes at the very end here. Ashley, you can be found on Twitter at AshIsMyNameUK.
Mm-hmm.
There's content forthcoming. Don't know when. We'll get there eventually. Chris Hunt's Toys on Instagram for Chris. And was it Figures and Flippy Shiz podcast? Because I can't say the other word. Right
Yep,
on.
that one on the audio, and then Figure and Flippy S on the YouTube channel.
Yep. AJ, of course, just like Keith Richards, cannot be killed by conventional weapons and also is not found in any form of social media, most likely just like Keith Richards as well. And you can ask him a question. May 1st is not that far away, ladies and gentlemen. It really isn't, honestly. We're about into March at this point. But if you have another question for AJ, we got Pop the Question tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our third show of the week. 4 of us are going to be here with our live chat, as always, to answer your questions. I probably will do maybe, it depends on how lively the chat is, as always. I will probably do maybe an hour before we cut off chat so we don't go like a billion hours because I have to work super early in the morning. But I definitely wanted to do 2 weeks of QA, because we'll do that and mention the fact that Sunday is SAG, Screen Actors Guild Awards, and that also means that Sunday AJ and Ashley are going to be doing a recap show after SAG ends. And I believe we've got WGA on Saturday.
No,
PGA on Saturday.
PGA on Saturday. Okay, cool. I knew there was a GA on Saturday.
The golf.
Yeah, so yeah, DJ on Saturday, and then Sunday, of course, will be SAG, and they'll recap DGA as well on Sunday. I will be at Ring of Honor, the tapings at Universal, the first official Ring of Honor tapings on Saturday and Sunday. That's the reason why I'm not going to be around for the show, but given the fact of what probably will win, it's probably best I'm not. Needless to say, that's also going to lead us to Monday, which the 27th will bring you our predictions for the Independent Spirit Awards. And you know what? Let's end February with another Pop the Question. So that's going to be fun. And then we'll recap the Spirit Awards on the 4th. And then we do our final Oscar predictions are going to be the day after AEW Revolution, March 6th, the day that I may or may not watch or have already watched my 10th Best Picture nominee theatrically, All Quiet on the Western Front, the BAFTA juggernaut that it was. And then the day after, Tuesday, new day, Great White Hype, more Sam Jackson on this channel for Popcast Movie Club. And then, of course, we recap the Oscars on the 12th. And we'll throw a Q&A at you guys on February 13th. And then, of course, we'll just go back to regular
March.
It's a lot. I don't know anymore. Yeah, so that's be the March time.
March
so, yeah,
13th,
March,
not February
recap
13th.
With Norval, me, AJ, and Ashley. We'll find out who won the contest, and then we'll throw a QA at you on March 13th. So
I only say that with times because one of the big things on television over here is EastEnders, the soap. The closing bit of this week's or tonight's episode, which they were promising big things about, is a flash forward to Christmas and somebody getting murdered, but you purposefully don't see who. So now you've got 10 minutes to work out how we get from where we are now to what that ever happens on Christmas.
And in between, you've got plenty of content versus AJ's movie reviews. All these are coming back in the future. We're going to be AJ's finishing The English and Santa Clauses 2, the television series. So that's going to be 6 videos coming your way soon. And then, like I said, a plethora of Voices content, Sip and Snack content to get us to where we are now. And then AJ's watch movies for 2023 officially. And those reviews are coming soon too. So
yeah, the first video is going to be Ant-Man, Megan, and Magic Mike. And then we'll go from there.
I'm watching Cocaine Bear on Friday. So that being said,
on the Discord front as well,
here we go.
My tentative hope is to try and get it ready by March 1st. So the aim is to try and launch it in or around just when the Q&A is done, that video.
Yeah. Sounds good. So March 1st, anyone that has been waiting for the Discord, it's coming. And of course, May 1st, not too far after that. So 2 months later, from the Discord to the 10-year anniversary of the network. So thanks everyone for watching tonight, whether live or in archive. We appreciate everyone joining us for episode 23 of Popcast Movie Club on Die Hard with a Vengeance. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for Pop the Question, our QA show, which should be a fun time, as it always is. That being said, stream Real Super Dark. Stream F about it. Listen to Water Parks, for God's sakes. Come on, do it. And that's your show. So in the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.